Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I'm extremely excited to host a discussion together with Doug, who will introduce himself, and talk about Smart Factory. I'm Helena Lisachuk, and I lead Internet of Things practice for Deloitte globally. And we would like to spend an hour with you talking about one of the most um, I would say, distinctive topics when it comes to industrial IoT, Industry 4.0, future of industries, which is smart factory. Together with us today, we have great panelists that are representing kind of one of these largest industrial companies that are fundamental to our global economy. We have Ines Hodges, who is the Vice President of Digital Transformation and the digital transformation leader of IoT from Airbus. We have Mr. Greg Doppelhauer, who is a Lockheed Martin fellow and a chief system architect. We also have Frank Yelich with us, who is head of IT strategy production from Volkswagen. And of course, together with AWS, we have Doug Bellin, who is looking after Industry 4.0 smart factory topics at Amazon Web Services. Dear speakers, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us, and we're really, really looking forward to the discussion. Let's maybe go to the next slide, and let's get the discussion started. So, what is your perspective on smart factory journey? And maybe before I start asking about perspective, the word smart factory is used in so many different ways, right? And maybe would be curious to hear, what is smart factory for you? What is it for you personally? What is it for your company? And where are you in a journey? And Ines, let's start with you.
Thank you, Helen. Hello, everybody. My name is Ines Hodžić. I'm with the Airbus Digital Transformation Office, taking care about Airbus global Internet of Things deployment strategy in our divisions, so in Airbus Commercial, Defense and Space and Helicopters. And it's my pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me. I joined Airbus over 3 years ago to drive and accelerate the digitalization, and our main focus, at least in terms of Internet of Things, was operations and factories. When you start the journey, you first of all you try to define what is it actually, because as you said, also Helena, smart. What is smart? We know what is factory, but what is smart within the factory? I think we started with a pretty complex as a definition, which in the beginning was not so really well understood. In the end, what is it after 3 years of this journey? The smart factory is a factory with a lot of data, with a lot of transparency, and from our perspective, with a lot of people enabled to do the best job. What do I mean with this? Is with the smart factory, we are trying to put our colleagues working on the shop floors in the function in focus, and to ensure that all the information we need, they will get just in the right time in the right place, and to avoid cognitive and informational overflow, which in many cases in the past also led to too much complexity, even inefficiencies and redundancies on the processes. So with the smart factory, we are trying to improve life of our colleagues on the shop floor, and by improving their life, we would like to improve our processes and get a specific level of excellence.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm gonna look at Doug and say, well, normally when people hear Amazon, they don't think about factory. But Doug, what is smart factory for you? Besides, of course, the fact that Amazon Web Services bring all of these technologies from edge to cloud, back and forth, machine learning, very, very fast evolving services that allow us to build smart factories. But do you have your own smart factory, Doug?
I think, Helena, thank you very much for that. I think the interesting thing about Amazon and Amazon Web Services is we are living smart factories every day. And most people don't put together Amazon and automation, Amazon and your shop floor type of capabilities that we talk about with Industry 4.0 and smart factory. most people think, hey, I order something on the web and magically it appears. Hopefully magically is the key word from that standpoint. And it delights our customers and makes them happy and they're excited about that box showing up. But the process from when you hit purchase to when that actually makes it to your garage, your car, your desk doorstop or desk or anything from that standpoint is an incredibly complex journey that goes across hundreds of different modes of us looking at the information of where is that item coming from, to looking through a fulfillment center and looking at lots of conveyance systems and robotic systems, and then finally into a trucking system for middle mile and potentially prime air for long distance transport, or how do we get to the last mile? And all of those systems have a lot of data driven from that standpoint first, and then ultimately a lot of that automation capability that our everybody on this call is using on a day in and day out basis. So we live Smart Factory, and that's really where Amazon Web Services spun into and out of, is the legacy of that big data, of that incredibly complex capabilities that we bring our customers on a day in and day out basis. To us, Smart Factory Industry 4.0 is not a single point in time. It's a process. It's a continuous improvement capability. And we look at it as not small increments many times, but trying to take those leaps and bounds of incredible improvements that we go forward. Hopefully everybody on this call is a Prime member and uses us on a daily basis. I know I get boxes every day, it feels like, or bags or something from that standpoint. Probably a lot from me is that I'm sitting at home now trying to figure out what I want for, the next day for my office or something from that standpoint. But if you look back in the last year and the incredible improvements that Amazon made, in October, November timeframe, we made an announcement before the holidays that we were going to go from 48-hour shipping to 24-hour shipping. And the reason we could do that was not due to hiring more people or other things that most people think about from that standpoint, but it was really due to the fact that we had such a good insight into that supply chain, into what was going on to our shop floors, our fulfillment centers, that we could flip that switch and make an incredible improvement in delivery times. Going from a 48-hour delivery to a 24-hour delivery is not a 2%, 3% improvement. That's an incredible improvement that we had to be able to do. And that's what we're doing, is taking those concepts and ideas with our customers to try and make those leaps into that improvement. No longer just a 2% per year, but how do we help them do that 10, 20, 30% type of capability, and keep having that going over and over as they go forward as well. So that's where we're at. We've done an incredible amount of capabilities as we go forward from there, bringing those best practices to our customers, bringing those insights into that machinery that is constantly working, and working with the customers, hopefully on this call, as who might not be the panelists, but also with the panelists here, with some incredible improvements that we're seeing day in and day out.
Okay, right. So for an automotive company like Volkswagen, what is Smart Factory? We know smart cars. What about Smart Factory?
No, hopefully only smart cars can be done by smart factories, you think? I agree. And of course, I do completely agree with Enes and Doug about their speaks. I have a long history in Volkswagen with data management, product lifecycle management products, and from my point of view as an engineer for flight guidance and flight control, best wishes to Enes and Airbus, I can see that processes will be disturbed and you need control and guidance to have good processes undisturbed and working. And one of the secrets behind that is that the subsystems are working more or less independently. They get their order, they get the task, and then do it and give back the results. Hopefully everything is okay. And the product they produce locally is quite well and in 100% quality. I think what we are doing at the moment and what we call smart factories is that we use more or less decoupled systems that work for their own, that get their order maybe from the product directly, driven by mechanisms, as Doug explained a minute ago. And we think this is the core of a smart factory, independent modules that can be combined to smart processes to produce very individual products that fulfill more than 100% the wishes of the customers, the right color, the right interior, the right navigation system, and of course, all the features that will come up with the new products of the electrical cars, which is more or less something like a mix of a smart TV and a mobile phone going with you in a way that you never can imagine today. And if I may get my chart of the smart factory, I would completely agree with Anna's talks that we have the people in the middle of the smart factory, because if you speak about automation and automatic systems, let's never forget that we need both. Managing complexity, reacting on disturbances, on unplanned things, or controlling tolerances that occur every time. Let it snow in Germany and the trucks will have some problems on the highways, and so we have to re-deal with our processes and so on. And so you need someone who can deal with this complexity, and artificial intelligences can do some assistance for human beings, but they cannot replace them. And also we try to increase the atmosphere of work for our people, that we put off the complexity of the whole system away from the local guy, and that we give him advice and hints and the right information at the right time, that he is happy to work. Maybe he can speak with the chatbot about weather or other things. Or what you can see here in our assembly picture of an idea of a factory of the future is there are two colleagues working together for some parts of the car, and one is a human being and the other one is a robot. And we think they can talk with each other, they understand each other, and they take care on each other. So the robot takes the, let me say, more heavy processes, picking up huge parts, holding them, and the human being can do the complex process, which would be more expensive to program the robot than to let the human worker do the job. And so we think the mix of human capital, automation, independent acting components, everything controlled by, what shall I say, smart overlooking control system. We think this is a smart factory of the future. And of course, it's not one factory, it's a network of factories that are combined to work together with the components and with the necessary logistics between them. And I think this is the core of our idea for a smart factory. And due to the help of our common project with AWS, no, excuse me, wrong side. You can see we have a common project. It's called Industrial Cloud. And Amazon and Volkswagen try to support our idea of a smart factory with an IoT platform, which will be built by us together.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Greg, what is smart factory for you? Please share.
Well, how do I add to what the three gentlemen have already said? But I think what I want to take, what everybody to take away from Lockheed's journey to a smart factory is everything plus. It's this orchestration of microservices that allow us visibility into the life breath of our factories and our products. And without AWS, I don't think we would be as far along our journey as we have been. It's been slow going at first, but the pace of acceleration is almost like Amazon's pace of acceleration. We have migrated and moving at an extremely fast pace. Matter of fact, we were the first implementation of Greengrass and GovCloud in the United States. And it has become very important, that partnership we're developing, to allow us to securely connect our factories. It's the most important thing we do to understand the products that we build and the tolerances needed for our products that we build, the data, the amount of data collected, it's just humanly impossible to do it manually. So the more we can connect the assets at the edge to the products that we build, to the information both pertaining to the product and about the product, are incredible value to us and to our customers. Our customers are driving the need for us to build our products more intelligently. Not only from, you know, driving costs down, but the information that comes out of the manufacturing of these products helps them to do better and build better products going forward. So it is extremely important for us. It has become a driving force to our bottom line.
That's very good to hear. Of course, many of us have been on Smart Factory journey for a few years, I would say, but situation changed, right? So past couple of months have probably not been so easy for factory operations and supply chain and, let's just say, global economy. Did you did the situation change in any way, Greg? And kind of going back to you, your view on Smart Factory and what you started doing more or less in the circumstances?
You know, I think it's funny that you ask. I think our journey into smart factories has proven itself with the remote nature of our work. Now, some of our employees just physically have to be there, but our machines, our most valuable assets, these very complex machines that build these complex products that we build, that are very expensive, by the way, so we don't have a lot of them, have been able to continue to provide the information back to us. Our factories have been running just like they had before COVID, but the data and the teams that can continue to work remotely around those machines and continue to collect data, our journey into smart factory has not stopped one bit. We've been able to continue our journey, thankfully, to, you know, being able to work remotely, and the fact that AWS is a remote company. So it hasn't stopped us one bit. We were on a cloud journey. So I can do all my cloud work. We can do all of our connectivity. We're continuing to connect machines today as we brought 75% of our workforce home. So I think the smart factory is actually proving itself.
Fantastic, yeah. Ines, what about you? Do you see any changes?
Let me just comment. We had this discussion about what is smart factory, and when we started the journey, the topic was, is a highly automated factory a smart factory? And I think at that point of time we said no. And I had a tough time because I came from automotive, where, you know, level of automation is much higher than what we have in our industry. But I think these days we really see what is it about smart factory. And what I mean with this is the aspect that Gregory mentioned, being all in remote mode, but even more being capable to act on the changes in the environment. Because what we see today is we see how important it's not just to look on your production line, then to look in your logistics center and to look even in your supply chain, and dealing with all this data and bringing this data in the context, helping us really react and support our supply chain, but as well as support and ensure safety of our employees, ensuring that maybe if it's not needed, if the supply chain is having anyway the challenges, we can really almost in the real time not to do the reprioritization of the work. So the topics like flexible line balancing and recommendation engines are there to stay even after the crisis.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's been sort of a trigger, and that's what we hear from many of our clients. There are certain things that have been implemented now, but they will stay. They will stay once we get out of crisis, and it will only go faster. That's what we hear. But Frank, from your perspective, do you see kind of situation now today making it a bit stronger case for smart factory as well, or how is it for automotive?
Yeah, well, we see that the situation helps us to climb more fast the stairway up to the smart factory, because now everybody is fit and familiar with remote work, because we locked down some of our plants, but we continue to work, and now we can do some things because we have access to the machines, of course, from the cloud, and some other things. We can fit up some things and put in artificial intelligence models for predictive maintenance and other things. And we can simulate some things with the machines because they are not in a productive mode. So we have a better situation to train the models and some other things. And we expect that we will we will take the experiences of this lockdown phase for some things. We will change our projects in a bit with these experiences, and they will go faster. Before, I think, with these components we could develop in the meantime remotely on the cloud by IT with the help of Amazon. And so we think we will make some progress with digitization and have also good experienced people. They now can not only work remotely, they have learned to be trained with web videos or other things. And we had workshops with 200 people in a way we are working today here with this webinar, and it worked more or less fine. Not everything works with this mode, but I think we are in a good situation to start again if we can go out of the lockdown.
Helene, I might add real quick that
Right.
one of the key things for us in overcoming the smart factory journey was the relationship between the IT folks and the operational folks. And I think this separation, for lack of a better term, from work has strengthened that relationship, because they still continue to do their work while we're continuing to connect, monitor, and analyze the machines and the functionalities of our factories. So I think that relationship, which started out very rocky, for lack of a better term, has really strengthened lately. The trust has been gained and given.
Yeah, well, Greg, thank you for bringing that up. Since you mentioned that the beginning of your journey was not very smooth and it took a little bit of time to get going, could you tell a little bit, how did you start, and whatever you're willing to share?
Yeah,
Where did you see that tipping point? That was a bit rocky at the beginning, but then all of a sudden, you jumped on this whole gigantic pace of acceleration of AWS. How did that happen?
Well, I think the journey, everybody thinks this is a new thing. The journey started for us probably 4 or 5 years ago, looking at these monolithic solutions that all claim to be the one end all be all for connected machines. And not any one vendor met every single need of our requirements. So we started looking at, well, what do we not want to do? And we couldn't really rationalize, shortening our requirements, because it really, all of them drove the value in connecting our factories. So about 2018, we started talking, we went out to reInvent, started talking to AWS. I was challenged by the CIO to prove connectivity with AWS. We held a couple what we call just do it events. They're micro events, 1 to 2 days. You put about 15 people in a room. You give them autonomous power. You say, you have the decision-making power to do this. You're going to change the culture, change the game here. So you have the power. So if you were in that room and you were a security guy, you had the power to flip the switch on the firewall. Greg had the power to walk into the machine and plug it in. So we held this event in January of 2019. We did in 2 days what the corporation had struggled to do for 2.5 years. We proved value of sending machine data up to the cloud through Greengrass. That was in pub cloud, and we had to work with AWS to get some things moved to where we needed them. But it was taking a huge, eating the apple one bite at a time, as opposed to trying to tackle the entire thing. So we proved connectivity. Then we moved on to secure connectivity. Then we moved on to secure network fabrics, protecting the east-west, north-south movement. Then we moved into GovCloud. Then we expanded our services to inference, not just collecting telemetry data, not just monitoring machine activity, but actually decision-making at the edge. Then we started looking at AR, VR, digital twins at the edge. So we're working that process now. So it's been this eat the apple one bite at a time, a ton of just do it. I ran about 6 or 8 just do it events last year, 2 days at a time. I traveled all over the country to different sites, and we incrementally proved success. By the time we were done in 2019, we had proven just about every use case we wanted to prove to the corporation for machine connectivity, smart factory connectivity, data collection, data aggregation, data lakes, time series storage, everything we had wanted to prove, we have proved, and we're building out our journey now.
Wow. So you literally called the events Just Do It, right?
Yes, we call them Just Do It, or we've given them an acronym because everything in Lockheed's an acronym, so it's JDI. We just do it.
Great, thank you. This is really inspiring, Greg. Really, really inspiring, especially considering the scale and magnitude, how large your company is, and it takes some time to align everything and everybody. So it's fantastic.
And remember, some of these machines are 30 years old.
Yeah.
Windows 95, CPM operating systems still exist.
Wow, wow. All right. Doug, do you want to comment a little bit? Because I'm pretty sure you were involved in this journey.
I think what Greg mentioned, and I see Frank down there smiling because I think he's been going through a very similar journey on this, which there's a couple of great learnings that we keep seeing popping up in a journey like this. One, Greg, you said, how do you take the bite of the apple? I use a bigger concept of how do you eat the elephant? And most people say, well, you eat it one bite at a time. That's right, but the problem is most people look at the elephant and go, but where's my first bite? And that's what the problem is sometimes is it's the old how do you get through a journey? The journey is only you could have to start with the first step. So if you're looking at the elephant, where's that first bite? And the problem many times, and I see this so many times when I walk in with customers like you guys that are out there going, I've got this huge transformation I have to do. Where do I start? Sometimes you walk in and go right there. Why? Because then you're started. You just need somebody to push you and make that first step. Other times, I mean, that's a sarcastic, cynical way to start the journey, to be honest with you. But there's another way to start it where you look at, cost effectiveness, how it's going to be the first step into other things that you might be doing as you go forward. But many times it's taking that first step. And one of the things that once that first step is taken, of course, we want the executive buy-in. We want the C-suite to say, hey, this is the right thing to do. And they've probably been saying that for 7 years. 5 years, I think everybody has been looking at this. 2 years, people are kind of going, okay, where do we go? But I think what we're seeing now is some of the concepts that Amazon is bringing to the forefront of what we call two pizza teams. And a two pizza team is exactly what you're describing, Greg, and it's what Frank, I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute, as well, what we're doing at Volkswagen and other areas out there, which is you build a small autonomous team. And two pizzas is enough pizza around a table that is going to feed probably 6 to 8 people. More than that is when bureaucracy gets in and you just get in the way of each other sometimes. So 6 to 8 people to be able to start, build, and own that project moving forward. Give them the right, which I know for a lot of companies is difficult because it's a culture. Well, what do you mean I have the right to do this? Yeah, go do it. And it's something that Amazon really talks about and really works with is changing a little bit of the culture as well from those aspects. And when you look at the structure of that two pizza team, you do want to try and get both IT and OT in there because there's different wants and different needs and different nuances. And sometimes as difficult as different meanings to the same word. IT has one word that they say and OT has another word that they say, but they don't mean the same thing. So sometimes it's understanding the nomenclature or the words and building that verbal dictionary together so everybody really aligns behind it as they go forward. And that's really, I think, what Amazon has brought to this whole market, besides the great compute and virtually unlimited storage capabilities and other things that we bring to the table, is that cultural change of how do you get things done. JDI is awesome because it's now ingrained in you guys to this is where we're going to go. This is how we're going to do it. Build that little micro team and let that go forward. And that's what we're seeing over and over with successful implementations is that mental shift of we're going to let you just do it. Just get it done. Just make things happen as you go forward.
Yeah, it's very inspiring and it's liberating to some extent. And I wish everybody could just act as JDI. It's a cool model. Do you have JDIs already built up at Volkswagen, Frank?
Yeah, I completely agree with Doug and Greg. What we did when we started our journey to a smart factory, well, we made two things. The one thing was checking out technology, making small projects, learning by doing. But we are a huge company, a very German company, which is very good in having steering committees and projects and well thinking about how is the benefit of the project worth to create a good project and to stuff it and so on. And on the other hand, coming from that perspective, we made a huge strategy project. What is the right IoT platform for a company with more than 200 plants? And then we started checking process, what of these 500 IoT platforms on the market is a good choice for a company like Volkswagen. We saw very quickly that we need a hyperscaler who is worldwide able to deal with the mass of our data to support us. And then we said, okay, we need a quick journey, we need a good journey, and we cannot do it in the way we are doing it until today. And so we said we need a partner who is very different from us, but who is also willing to learn from us and who is willing to share his knowledge, experience, and even the mental model with us. And so we worked a bit together with the colleagues from Amazon, and we learned, yes, they are different from us, or let me say we are different from Amazon. Maybe that's it. Of course, we have several circumstances. We need 4 to 5 years to build a car, and quite complex product, not as complex as an aircraft, of course, but a quite complex product has to be built every day, 40,000 times, perfectly for the customer, where all of the around 6,000 components we are assembling work well together and fit to each other. And you need to have a network of people working together that everything comes to the one point of the start of production. And we are very good in project management with time series aligned and so on. And then we got these disturbances by pizza teams and working backwards from the customer and small responsibilities for several things. And we said that cannot work in 3 years. Not everything will be done, because if the people are responsible for themselves, they will create their own ideas and make their own products. But we saw the people were very happy to take over the responsibility to say, I'm not doing a part, I be a part of a complex product, and I'm proud of the complete product, and I will do my very best to fulfill the requirements for my part of this product. And so we got a very good idea how to deal in another way with project management, with agility, and we learned a lot from Amazon. Maybe some things will also be learned at Amazon. We will ask Doug during a beer for that, I'm sure. But we had very good experiences with this working together, and now we have something like a gearbox which goes in the next gear, and we are starting with many projects in parallel on their own responsibility, matching together to a complete set where we can replace our historical monolithic driven IT landscape and can automate our machines, connect them, support the people. So it is a great experience. And by the way, when we looked around the corner expecting the elephant of going to a smart factory, it was not an elephant, it was Godzilla.
Godzilla. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, elephant seems so friendly now. And that's what about you? Where is Airbus in terms of kind of the journey, and how did you start? Did you already get into acceleration mode? How is it?
Well, I think I share a lot of experiences with the gentleman, and I know that Pete does as well. I think maybe other the new learnings that we brought here, we can brought here are two. One learning that we had, in the past, all this, as Frank said, all these big digital transformation initiatives are starting with the Gesamtkonzept, the big plan, the big roadmap, and it takes time in order to get it moving. I think this time we started with a concept which we called user obsession. And the user obsession was basically we were going to the pain points. So and the user for us was really a guy or a lady operating a big milling machine in specific as a plant, where we saw that despite all the technologies we are investing, we don't have the level of efficiency, the level of output that we need. So we went there and we did something which we called embedded teams. So we had our data scientists, IoT guys connecting the machines in front of this user. And what we did in the first weeks, we did a kind of, we call it user journey, try to understand how is this user working and how can we simplify his or her life. And interestingly, actually, these guys are, I would say, the most knowledgeable in problem source and most knowledgeable in many cases how to solve the problem. So we were basically just providing the right digital tools to empower them and to help them solve the problem. And what was really interesting after that is just by solving these problems, which are real across the company, we had already a kind of momentum created from the people from the shop floor to want to have it. So the change process was, addressed by that one as well. The other experience that we had is the whole experience with, I call it data inventory, because we have, as Gregory said, a lot of not really green fields in terms of IoT and IT architecture. We have really a brown fields, and what we see is that we have already a lot of data, even the log files on the machines, which are maybe 30 years old or 20 years old, but which are not used. And the people, never had an idea to use this data. So what we did in the first step is actually to do inventory to see what is available, which, for my gigs was really tough, because a lot of gigs just want to deploy the sensors, get the additional controllers and all of this. And we said, let's wait a minute and let's get what is already available. And this helped us a lot, because what we learned, I'm on this kind of industry 4.0 smart manufacturing journey for, I think, 5 or 10 years now. And everybody is expecting, a big productivity improvements. But what we have is the data are still a kind of closed, still in the silos. And from our perspective, the people are starting then the religious wars, if I may say so, on data. So is it SAP? Is it not SAP? Is it MES? Is it CRM? Actually, in the end, it does not care. What was important for us to release this data and to take the ownership of this data, because in many cases they are not clean. They have to be clean, and they are not ideal. But what we learned, you don't have to boil the ocean. Maybe just the data from 2-3 sources released by APIs and microservices can start a big movement. And this is basically our experience by now. And we are now in almost the third years and fully in the industrialization mode.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you. Very encouraging too. And no boiling the ocean, all about the data, new ways of working, touch the culture, focus on people, really, really great learnings. And thank you. Thank you for sharing them. I wanted to ask one quick question as we are kind of approaching the closure of our session. What was the role of leadership in this whole journey? Is there like 1 or 2 examples you could share, which was just truly inspirational for you, for your teams, to get this journey started and going and accelerating? Greg, would you like to say something?
Sure, I'll start. I think I mentioned it earlier. I was challenged by the CIO. We took on this digital transformation journey as a corporation, and it's multifaceted. It's not just a smart factory. But my responsibility for that digital transformation was the smart factory at the time. So, the challenge from the CIO was, does it work? Can it work? Will it work? And, I looked at him and said, look, it's on paper, it works. Let me prove it. And I immediately contacted our AWS folks. We started down the journey. After our January 22nd close of our event last year, I had a meeting with the CIO and all the EVPs of the business areas and said, here's what we were able to do. And to their credit, they pivoted and said, this is our direction. Continue down this path. And that sparked the ongoing JDIs. And I had full support from those JDIs, even to the point where the CEO told security to back me 100%. And if you know anything about Lockheed Martin, security is the biggest wall in the corporation. Our security is everything to us. So I had security's full backing with the backing of leadership, and we would not be where we are today without that buy-in from leadership to get to where we are.
Yeah, great. Hannes, what is your view?
Well, Aldo, we have a kind of two experiences which are kind of complementary, I think, to the topics that Gregory explained. One view is, this different OT and IT worlds. And I think, in the beginning, the people were really kind of identifying with these symbols. But what we tried to do is actually we brought them together in front of the user, in front of the customer. And at that point of time, so the customer or user was not a kind of theoretical avatar somewhere. It was a real guy with the problem in front of them. And I think that helped us a lot. On the other side, we had, as probably all the guys experience here, digital transformation for us is actually the big change management using the digital tools and technologies. And in order to move this, you have to have the backing of all middle managers as well. And these guys are not, in many cases, not really digitally native. So they believe, and you have to earn the trust of these guys. And you earn the trust if you demonstrate that something is working. Gregory mentioned GDIs. We have a similar stories where we, had a mercy of one sprint to show the quick MVP to show the value. And if we would, fail in that one sprint, which we did in a couple of cases, we have to have a good explanation, the good learnings, really to go to the next step.
Thank you. And Frank, what is your view?
Well, more or less very similar. When we started, of course, we are an automotive company with petrol heads, and many people said, bits and bytes, and there were the cloud giants, or what about we are also a giant? But we learned very quickly there is something new and it's interesting, and we can love it if you do it, because the management by digital assistants, and why shouldn't a car work like a smartphone for the user experience? And so people said, there is new green grass on the other side of the river, and it's better than our green grass that we have here. Come on, let's go and try to check out if it's true, if the grass is greener there. And we gave many people the possibility to try, to learn, also to make errors, and to be supported to make errors and learn from these errors and do it better the next time. And so there are many mechanisms coming from agility and the companies making IT, which is different to making cars. And so we started to learn, and it was a fantastic experience to learn these different approaches. For example, you can see it's more an IT dress and not an automotive dress. It's more or less exactly 2 years ago than I wear the tie the last time. So you can see we have been changed, and we are keen to go the way further, because we think under some corners there are more interesting new worlds that we can check out in the future. And we are very happy to do this with strong partners, not only like Amazon, because what we try to do is to establish a community of strong partners, because we believe if you want to be successful in the future, you have to be a part of an economy, of an ecosystem that supports each other. And this is why we created the idea together with a hyperscaler and other companies like Siemens. And we are in contact with a lot of companies to create this ecosystem. And I have a picture for you, if you like to show it, what we can, or what we would like to offer to many companies in our industry, to say there is an IoT platform, which is not only a technical platform, but it's also an ecosystem of partners where you can save your effort to deal with your first, second, third tier supplier. We will create a platform, we call that Industrial Cloud, and you can use this Industrial Cloud as a digital production platform for your company in your secure and safe area. As we do it in Volkswagen, because our digital production platform is the first instance of this Industrial Cloud, and we would offer other companies to come to this journey, share it with us, because we have some things that are easy to use, and you have an easy connection to your plants via this IoT platform supported by AWS, Volkswagen and Siemens, and hopefully some other companies. We will show you in July. And then we think we can create an ecosystem which is stable. This helps each other through the next crisis, where we hope that does not occur. But we think with this strong ecosystem, we can create a good future for the companies joining this community. And we would love if you come in contact with us and check out if this would be a possibility for both of us to see if we can join this journey together.
That's fantastic, Frank. Thank you. What is one word of advice would you have? You already gave an open invitation, which is very gracious. Thank you. Any word of advice for people that are thinking about the smart factory, digital factory journey? One or two words. What would you like to leave this audience with? Frank.
Don't lose the team.
All right. Okay. And word of advice from Greg.
I would say build trust.
All right. Word of advice from Hannes.
Well, I think from our perspective, maybe one word and one experience. One word would be iteration, because I think the iteration is really a key for this kind of change, and we saw it in all of these cases. And another aspect that I liked a lot, we worked a lot with the Amazon guys, and two pizza teams, PRFQs, the Bible with the 12 leadership principles. I think in the meanwhile, my team knows them as well. But what is really impressive, and what we learned to establish and to bring back to our organization, is this builder mentality. So not to wait that somebody will come, that somebody will deploy, especially in our IT domains, then really to get the stuff done. And I think this is the attitude that we need now even more.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Completely agree with the builder mentality as well, and the words of advice. Doug, one word from you.
Hang on. And the reason it's not hang on as in wait, it's hang on as grip, hold, and be ready for the ride. It's not a hang on, we can start later. It's a, if I'm not hanging on, I'm going to get tossed from the car, using the Volkswagen example. I'm going to get tossed from the jet or the airplane, and I'm going to be flying through the air with my eyes wide open going, okay, what happened? The reality is it's a crazy journey, which once it's started, the iterations and the speed is potential impossible to, if you're not hanging on, just it almost gets a little bit thought of being out of control. But that control mechanism is loosening it a little bit, so others do have that. Again, it goes back to the culture and making sure that that culture is a open culture, and allows people to hang on, as in what is going to be the next ride for us to go forward.
Fantastic. Wow. Well, very inspirational. Thank you so much, dear speakers. Thanks so much for sharing. Thanks so much for all the fun and all the fun stories you've shared. Hopefully, the hanging on, it didn't scare anybody. Huh? It only encouraged because there is a way to get through, but it does require, you know, a little bit of persistence. But we'll all get there. So, best of luck for everyone and their journey to the factory of the future and digital factory and smart factory and smart operations, and stay safe.